are back for another special edition of the HNL Tonight Show with hockey coach Jakob Chychrun. Tonight, we have Marco Larrabee, co-host of the Branch your Sunday Rendezvous every Sunday morning at 11 o'clock Eastern Time. And, of course, in our tap, co-host of the Warm-Up Show, Monday to Friday, 6 p.m. They are back with me tonight talking about the trade deadline, some update in news. This is the part 3 of the week. The last 3 tonight. Prior to that, we did a show at 9 o'clock until 10 o'clock. We're going to stop only 60 minutes tonight because Montreal play at 10:30 against the Kings, and definitely doing the play-by-play. So welcome, both of you. Thanks to join me tonight of the great show of the HNL Tonight Show.
Well, Coach, with all the trades that have been happening, I wasn't sure if I would come on the channel tonight and find out that Innertap had been traded to the Arizona Coyotes, but I'm glad to see that he's still still with the channel.
It's on my no trade list. So
he's okay.
Wow. We have 10 games on the night, guys, right now. And the Ottawa Senators beat right now the New York Rangers. Just scored 2 goals back-to-back to date the lead, 4-3 against the Rangers. Rangers got Tarasenko, Kane, and everybody, but they cannot find a way. It surprised me again. And the Islander at the Ottawa got Chychrun. So very interesting what's going on with the New York Rangers. You never know. People thinking in this Alak, another bad game tonight, Alak. And Giroux looked like he tipped the puck and score. So, wow.
Big game brass coming through again.
You got to believe.
Did you see that Forsberg goal from Tarasenko? So nice.
Yeah, very nice. Very nice.
Yeah, I'm sorry about this. Before we start, we're going to welcome everybody. I'm sorry about that. We have Mr. Trout Slayer is in the house. Welcome aboard. Dave Zucker, directly for Boca Raton, and Florida, big fan of the Rangers, is in the house. Welcome back. Melissa Zabran from Detroit is in the house tonight. Our friend Ari is with us. Angelo, welcome back in the house. Angelo, thanks with us. I'm sorry about that. That was earlier show. Roger Butch Bouchard is in the house. Welcome back, both of you. Then we have a couple of people talking each other, so I'm going to jump in. No news on the Edmonton play tonight. Anybody knows about him? What's going on with him tonight or not? Is it in or not?
I think he's a game time decision. Right, yeah, I think he's a game time decision right now. I think Calgary wants to really see him play apparently. So let's see if he can get out there and pivot without his back giving out. That'd be nice. He just needs to hold out a couple games and we'll see. Looks like game time decision.
We'll see what happening. Chicago Bear is in the house. Welcome aboard. Run with Kings is in the house. Thanks so much for all the likes we got there so far and the show. And we're going to go through this until 10 o'clock p.m. We're going to give you some update around the league each time. If we have something, we'll let you know. RG should knock the door very soon to give us all the update. But we have a few trades during the day today. Most of them are March 2nd, and then we're going to be a bit more behind those dates with maybe some comments from Marco. But first of all, the Dallas trade with the Chicago Blackhawks for Max Domi. Any thoughts about that trade from the Dallas Star? Let's start with Marco, then in our time going follow up.
Yeah, well, I think Domi is similar to last year. He was at this point in his career, he had a good season in Chicago, but playing top line minutes with Kane, right? So that might engulf your numbers like a little bit, but nice depth pickup for Dallas. After picking up Dadonov, you figure Domi is the kind of guy that would play well in the playoffs because you think Domi and you think fiery and competitive, but as we know in Montreal, not necessarily the case when he was in the playoffs in Montreal. So he had a one good game with Carolina last year in the playoffs, scored a goal and was pretty feisty. But yeah, Domi is Domi. It's low cost, low risk, for them. But it's okay.
Yeah, exactly. Like I don't think he really like a lot of the ice surface is taken away in the playoffs, as we all know. And that works against what he tries to do. Like he likes to freewheel, and the defense just doesn't give you that in the playoffs. At least not the good defense. So it's not surprising that he hasn't produced big numbers in the playoffs. But he does have a good touch, and he's not afraid to go to the net. So for a team that's looking for that secondary scoring, it could be a good addition for the squads.
Yeah, if you're Dallas, like Seguin and Ben are just one cramp away from like not being able to play, right? Like their bodies are so dilapidated at this point that you need all the depth that you can through Dallas.
Yeah, absolutely.
The Ottawa Senators take the lead 5-3, but look like a challenge for Gala. The Lightning tied the game 3-3. The Kraken, Detroit 4-4. The Chicago Blackhawks tied the game against the Star 1-1. And the Toronto, the game just starting over there. The Bruins lead 2-0. And this, guys, may be the end of them, if ever happening. The Nashville beating right now the Florida Panthers by the score 2-1.
Yay!
Wow.
That's
with no players.
Right there.
So there'll be really interesting.
No players, no sorrows, and they're winning.
Will be interesting.
Are Barkov and what's his face playing tonight there? Like, or is Barkov back for Florida?
No, Barkov and Bennett are not playing tonight.
Wow. Yeah, they're screwed.
William McCleary is in the house. Welcome back with Angelo. Thanks so much. Chicago, like I mentioned to you. Steve G is in the house. Welcome back. No appeal, Harry, tonight. My opinion is Monahan is winning for this summer to sign a sweet contract. He does not want to risk it with his injury now, but hiding it. Do you think Montreal would trade him, or keep him, or sign him?
I hope they don't sign him, dear God. I hope they don't. I know some people feel that way, but I hope they don't sign him. But listen, like we've talked about it, is there a possibility that a desperate team, does like a conditional pick for him or something like that? But maybe. But I wouldn't hold my breath.
Yeah, we tend to forget that really the return for Montreal for Monahan is already in our possession. Anything above and beyond right now is all gravy. So will they sign him? I think if you can get a 1 year and he's willing to take less money, it might not be bad. For 1 year, it's a gamble worth taking. If for nothing else, just to be a mentor for guys like Suzuki and some of the younger players on the team, just to get them more in the fold and teach them, the aspects of the game a little bit more in depth. He's very well liked amongst the teammates. So it wouldn't be a bad idea, but if they can also deal him, that'd be even better. Yeah.
Very interesting about that for sure. We have other trades during the day happening, and one is funny because Jonathan Quick got returned now to the Columbus, to the Vegas Golden Knight. So just
I love this one.
Did a trip.
We predicted that last night, right?
Predicted that. Just make a trip for 1 day in Columbus, and then he turned back to Vegas. What do you think about that trade? Starting with Marco.
Coach, I think this is probably one of the more intriguing ones for me, just because the tantalizing prospect of, Vegas maybe meeting LA in the playoffs at some point, and like total revenge porn for hockey fans, right? So you root for a guy like Jonathan Quick, kind of a unceremonious kind of exit out of Los Angeles. So to me, this is like potentially like an FU to them, and go to Vegas, and who knows what can happen, right? So I like it. I think it's a very intriguing trade, especially with Vegas's goaltending situation. So I love it. I always root for chaos, right? So when it's not Montreal, so I think that would be an excellent story for the playoffs for sure.
And it's a way for Las Vegas to get in the heads of the LA Kings. And I think something like this might just do it.
I like it.
Absolutely right about that for sure. It'll be interesting how you go to respond, face to the Los Angeles Kings, and they are the same division now. So it's maybe not what Los Angeles thought about this when you trade him to the Columbus. We have a trade for the Edmonton and the Arizona. Bukestad got trade. What do you think about this in our top first, and then Marco?
Well, it's I don't know. I'm not a big Bukestad fan. I'll be honest with you, but it does give him a little bit of depth. So it's not a bad move. They didn't pay much for him anyway. So um, short of anything else that could have been out there, it's a good move for them.
And Ken Holland, man, he is not wasting any red pennies with his cap space, right? Like I think he had $450,000 worth of cap space left, and he spent all of it, like right to the last penny almost with this one, right? So yeah, like I wouldn't be surprised if I think Edmonton would still like to do something else if they can, whether it's trading out some salary from Ken Holland was pretty honest in the media yesterday, saying like he'd be willing to if he can bring salary down to the HL and bring something back up. So, but it's a good, like Bukestad's had a pretty decent season for Arizona. He's playing for the Bear in Arizona, so he's been working hard all year. That's for sure. Because if you're playing for Andre Tourigny, you're going to play the right way, or you're not going to play well. And so he was playing a pretty big role for that team that was surprising a lot of other teams. So, if you look at Edmonton, like if they need to, they can have him slot into that third line center instead of McLeod.
Yeah.
If McLeod is not really, it's his second year. He had a little bit of playoff experience last year. Not that Bukestad has a lot of playoff experience, but it gives him a different option down the middle for the third line.
Yep, I agree with you. RJ is in the house. Welcome back, RJ. Willie Snyder back with us tonight. Don't forget, guys, to click on the likes. We'll pick up some questions. Any question you have, guys, don't forget to put the letter Q. So we're going to follow up with your question. This is your show tonight, guys. I know it's very quiet right now, but just try to have any question. We're going to answer. Roger said, I see a surprise trade by Hughes tomorrow, at least last minute. What do you expect for Ken Hughes until the, I don't know how many hours we have right now, 18 hours, 16 hours?
I wouldn't be surprised if he's working the phones right now. But again, he's in the perfect situation. If something comes along that benefits the team, he won't be afraid to pull the trigger, especially if it's something long term, right? That really benefits. It doesn't necessarily even have to be picks. It could just be a good hockey trade that makes sense for Montreal. So I do anticipate, I will still maintain that in total, Montreal will have between 3 and 4 trades. One is in the books, obviously, when you consider Gurianov. So a lot of talk today that Edmondson might be on the go. There's talk even that people are kicking the tires on Drouin, just don't expect much of a return. So we could get to that 3 to 4 number.
I won't venture a number. Like it's very hard to say, right? Like we've talked about this, coach. It's just really bad luck for Montreal that the two biggest trade pieces they have just haven't been able to play. So a real bummer, for us. But I guess what I do, like when I analyze things right now. So I think since the Leafs picked up O'Reilly last week or whatever, there's been 40 trades. 40. It's insane how many there have been. And so, really, I guess the question is, like we kind of sound like the Leafs a little bit. Like, what does that mean for the Leafs? Like whenever there's other news in the NHL, people always make that joke. But what does that mean for the Leafs? Well, what does that mean for the Canadiens? There's been 40 trades. Is that good or bad? Does that mean that anybody who had a need has already addressed it, and Hughes has completely missed his opportunity, or does it mean that somebody who hasn't been able to find a dance partner yet, Ken Hughes has them exactly where he wants? You could argue both. We don't know, the distance that certain teams are willing to go. You look at the standings. There's so many teams that are still in the running, right? So those are good indicators for a seller, right? But again, it's a tough market for defensemen. Edmondson is probably the most likely asset to move unless there's a real opportunity with Matheson. I don't think Sabal's going anywhere at all.
Yeah,
you've heard all the different team members come out and say how important he's been to the team. I would be shocked. But so Edmondson is the most likely, but again, like it's not a great market for defensemen right now. So could be a couple things, but I'm not good at guessing.
And keep in mind, and keep in mind that a lot of these players that are being moved out of the 40 are just rentals. So I thought Luciano in the chat earlier today brought up an excellent point. He says if nothing can materialize right now, it's not the end of the world for Kent Hughes. He waits, and you're going to have a richer free agency to pick from. If you want to go a certain direction, you can obviously still do some trades with teams at the draft time with the picks that they have, or acquire some additional picks. So there's a lot of options still. I don't think they're worried.
I think with Montreal too is I don't think anybody can be critical of, like, Coach on Habs Brunch a couple weeks ago, we were talking about whether this season has been a success or a failure. And there's a couple things that they were looking to do, right? So one was develop players, and then two was trying to get another first round draft pick, and then three, if possible, try to move out some of those contracts. Those were three of the biggest goals going into the year. So, I think you could argue two of them are pretty good, but you can't really blame Hughes because of the injuries that have happened to those trade pieces. So I won't be mad. I won't think that he did a bad job. But if he wants to secure genius status, like if he wants to be considered, like if he's able to move like a Hoffman, like somebody who has term, like an Armia or a Hoffman, it's not like, I know it's very unlikely, but if he's able to do it, then he goes from Kent Hughes, awesome GM, to like Kent Hughes, wizard master of, like, being able to trick GMs into doing things that they shouldn't, right? So that's my take on it, is if he's able to do something like that, then it's like he reaches legendary status almost of being able to get those deals going. But you can't hold it against him for not being able to convert on what was a pretty big goal, which was to get another first round pick for this year.
Yeah.
Yep, sorry about that. We're going to stay in the conversation, but move on with William. William said, and then you can tell us a bit what you think, what the reason behind that, were you surprised? William said we have over 12 first-round pick trade during the 2023, 13 second round, 10 third round, and it can go all the way like that. How shocked are you about that situation where, so many trade for the first round pick where a lot of people was not expect that?
Yeah, I'm surprised. Like, I definitely thought that there might be a little bit of a premium. I think maybe people's thinking has evolved around this draft class a little bit. I think everybody was thinking that it was going to be really deep into the 20s, but there was more and more talk that, really after 12 or 15.
Hold on.
Serious injury.
Chychrun.
Yeah, he just got hit into the boards and is down.
So he's hit right now, but will be interesting to see that.
See how serious it is.
Yikes. Okay.
Sorry about that. I will just give you what.
No, it's okay. You have to be careful with your new expensive toys. Jeez.
Exactly. You know what? I really thought this year they would really value those first round picks because of the richness of the draft. But you saw there's already 12 movements. And you recall, Coach, we estimated that at the beginning of the year, how many first rounds will be given away this year. And I think the highest number we said was 5. And here we are at 12. So, and we still got one day to go. So it'll be interesting to see.
I think that's what I was saying before Coach gave us that update, is I think maybe people's evaluation of this draft class has changed a little bit, that it's not as elite after 15. Like, people were really worried about trading their 18th overall pick. But I think maybe they're getting reports from their scouting staff that, like, it's a good draft, but listen, like, if we're in win now, it's not like you're going to be drafting Pastrnak at 18 or something, right?
Yep. Sorry about that. Welcome back, Stu Pinazzo. Welcome back, Stu. And we have Rick Kane in the house. Both of you, welcome. If we miss you, one of you, I apologize. Another question: what role is Gordon playing now? Jeff Gorton. What is his role?
Well, I think he's hand in hand with Hughes, if that's what you're alluding to, because the nice thing that we're seeing from this administrative group is the fact that there's a lot of communication. Nothing is done in individuals, silos. Every move is analyzed. They talk about it. They go to their coaches. They go to their trainers as well. Like whatever the situation is, it's full transparency from that perspective, and they make an informed decision. And he's basically where the buck stops, right? He's the one that makes the final decision in terms. Well, you could argue it's Molson because he's doling out the money, but for all intents and purposes, Gorton is the one that determines whether something will go through or
not. Well, if Jeff Gorton is like any, I've reported to a couple of vice presidents in my career, to different executives, and to me, I find the most effective executives that I've worked for are people that they let you make your own decision, and they'll never be the one that says no, but they have a way of saying no without saying no, and basically making you come to the realization as to why you should say yes, or why you should do that, or why you shouldn't do that. So I'm sure I agree it's very collaborative, the environment that the team has. Not just with those two guys, but the entire development team, and they're looking at analytics, and they have a lot of different people involved. But to me, Jeff Gorton seems like a really sophisticated guy, and I would be surprised if he's like, no, Kent, I don't want you to do, no, Kent, we're not doing that. It's probably, okay, Kent, well, okay, I see why you would do that, but did you think about this, right? And having Kent maybe come to his own conclusion, and very effective leaders have the ability to do that, right? Is to really make you kind of talk through your decision-making process, and usually, they get the result that they want that way. So,
yeah, I feel like more like supervise everything on the every subject, everything like that, and then that's what he does. I think that's what he really do for now for the Montreal Canadiens. You have so many department in this team now, so I think he's just checking. But he's involved with all the transaction, everything like that. He's become, he's a consultant about that. So it's not like he does nothing or just watching, but really busy with Ken Hughes right now. And we'll be interesting what they're going to do tomorrow for the next couple of hours until after that. What is the next after that, right? They have a lot on the plate. They have 2 draft picks at some points in the NHL draft. So a lot of meetings are going to happening. But again, signature, like you said, Monahan, what happened after that if nobody leave? Drouin, can they kin him or not? That's another question. That's what they have to. It's just like maybe something they were looking about those. And then Kurianov is another one they have to check about is audition with the Montreal. So a lot of things happening, not only until tomorrow, but after that, you have to prepare for the off season for sure. So the next 6 weeks.
I would add also, Coach, some other things even here before the end of the season. You have some college players like a Sean Farrell, which they're going to have to maybe sign his ELC, and how many contracts do we have? Any open like I find that Montreal, like we have too many contracts.
I think they're right at the limit. Is it not?
So that's
50?
That's a problem. So you definitely want to have
the no 47. That's what I thought. 47.
Oh, 47. Okay.
Yeah.
They're close.
Still pretty high. Yeah. So you want to take care of that business. It would be nice to get a look at Sean Farrell here at the end of the season. I think that's really the only guy. I don't think maybe Struble, is there as well too. I don't know if you're Struble, would you even sign in Montreal with all the defensemen that are there?
No, I would try to trade is right.
Yeah.
At some point, with if you look about William Trudeau, if you think about Angstrom. That gave them almost like 7-8 on the only left defenseman. Like, you know what I mean? It will not change anything or add better what we already have. So for me, I think it should, for the benefit for the kids too, I think it should go that way. I think they should figure out something else, maybe try to get it right. So, Arizona, I just said a team. I don't say they have to go with that team. But
yeah. So maybe that's something that we see, Coach, here is like we're thinking about players that are on the roster right now that we've all been waiting to move. But maybe there's something that he does in anticipation of those guys that he knows he's not going to be able to sign to an ELC. So that Struble is somebody to look out for.
Yep, all right. Just give you a welcome back, Zev Lecav. And we have Tony back in the house. Jeffrey from Taiwan is in the house. So all of you guys, thanks to be with our Canadian Live show. For sure.
Jeffrey must be freaking out after that Leafs game last night. Oh my God. I wasn't on here last night, but I'm sure it wasn't pretty.
Be nice. Be nice.
Go ahead. Okay. Give us a question for Stu, by the way. Has anyone ever flown the NHL made-up somewhere central, like Niagara Falls or somewhere, the good site with that Clifton Hill? Here we go. I thought it was a question, but it was just a comment. So what do you think about Chychrun with Ottawa, Marco, and then and Artap?
Well, I think, it was great patience by Dorian. It's just, it can go both ways, right? Like, remember Sakic when he was holding on to Duchesne back in the day? Like, everybody thought he was waited too long. He was waiting forever to trade Matt Duchesne, and then boom, he ended up cashing in. He was a genius for waiting that long, but it can go the total other way, like we saw here in Arizona, right? Like they've been waiting and waiting and waiting to trade Chychrun, and it just didn't pan out. Like, just didn't didn't read the flow of things properly. But I think the problem with Arizona, which again, it's not really the GM's fault, is that the ownership doesn't want him to take any salary back either, right? So it really limits. I'm sure there was probably a bunch of other moves that he could have done with Chychrun that were a lot better than this, but it required them taking back some money on the way back. But I think they just don't have the ability to do that with ownership. So, so for Arizona, not at all what you were hoping to get. If I was a Coyotes fan, I would be super frustrated with that return. For Ottawa, before I heard that he crashed into the boards,
it was a heavy hit. Heavy hit.
Yeah, so I haven't seen it yet, but listen, it certainly it bolsters their energy right now. Like we talked about, on the heels of that really impressive 2-game set against the Red Wings. Just really good timing. Like, everything seems to be falling in place for Pierre Dorion. He should go buy a lottery ticket, I think. Like, he's on that kind of roll, at this point. So, does that win him the executive of the year? Like, he had a really hot summer, and then this is a pretty big deal too. So, and it sounds like Ottawa's not finished yet. So, like, Chychrun is, certainly, a top 4 D-man in the NHL. A little overrated, in my opinion. Like, I'd like to see him play in meaningful games and see how he performs. But listen, one thing that I heard that was really cool, they just played this this news clip from Dorion right before the Sens game today. But he admitted, he gave a little bit of inside baseball, and he admitted to reporters that he promised Claude Giroux when he signed him that he would get another D-man this year. I think, like, that's so interesting to see. I love that like a GM is that open with, like, talked about transparency in the Montreal Canadiens. I'd love to see that more with Montreal, right? So Dorian just being honest with the reporter, saying, "Listen, I promised Claude Giroux I would get us another D-man. It took me all year, but I got him," right? So to me, that says a lot about about Giroux. First of all, like, he didn't just come here to Ottawa to just to retire, right? Like, he wants to win. That says a lot about his attitude and his character. And I like that that Pierre Dorion would share that with the fans.
Yeah, and speaking of Giroux, what a year he's having, eh? I mean, he's quietly amassed the points, a point per game, and he's been such a positive influence on a very young team.
Yeah,
great acquisition.
Yeah, perfect fit.
Yeah.
He brings some kind of physicality the Ottawa does not have at the blue line. If you think about, Shabbat, Sanderson, Brangstrom, Zab, they are not too much physical. Like I think Chychrun, not only he is a great skater, but a good slap shot puck, everything like that, But I think he brings something like the Ottawa does not stabilize more the defense because honestly, with Holden and Harmonic, that's not what you're thinking as a second pairing. They should be both of them on the third pairing. But I think for not only a short term, I think a long term, at $4.5 million for the next 2 years, this is a cheap amount for the Ottawa Senators with all the rookie they have. A long term, a bad news for Montreal. A short term, I think is great because if Ottawa is looking better, that give a Fleur Panthers not make the playoffs. So Montreal have a better pick at the end of the night. But if you are Detroit, Buffalo, Montreal, you look at Ottawa, there's going to be a team that's going to be very difficult to beat the next 5 years. And initially, they find a way to better goalies, goaltender. I think this team will be solid.
Yeah. I know Sorgard looks pretty awesome, man. Holy jeez, he looks like he might be a player. Whew.
Amazing.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right about that. So it will be interesting about everything's going on for Chychrun or for Ottawa Senator. But we have other big trade today. We have, honestly, Bertuzzi from the Detroit again to the Boston. So I would like to, both of you, give us a little bit more information about that. We thank Dave Zucker for the super chat tonight. Thank you so much for that one. Too busy for tonight. We're going to go there join the show at 10:30. But what do you think about Bertuzzi trade?
Well, I said it earlier. Boston comes along and is observing and seeing what Toronto's doing, and then counteracted by Tampa Bay, knowing that they're going to probably meet in the first round. And all of a sudden, here he comes. Sweeney says, "Hold my beer. Bertuzzi, get over here." Just to send a message. Doesn't matter who we play. We're on top of this. Don't worry. All jokes aside, I think it was a great acquisition. He fits so well into the Boston mold of who they are and what they are. Rugged, can score, just a very good winger that can put up 30 goals fairly easily if he stays healthy. That's the only caveat to it. Because he hasn't always been a healthy body. But what was it that went back in return? A first and a fourth?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Coach, a first and a fourth?
Yeah.
But I think the first is top 10 protected, if I recall. So, what have you lost? That was a great acquisition. And shortly after, they placed Taylor Hall on the LTIR.
Yeah.
Interesting. So
I just want to confirm with you guys, bad news for the Florida Panthers. The last 2-1, but Ottawa beat the Rangers 5-3. That gave 5 teams at 66 points in the standing. 5 of them at 66 points in the standing.
Let the games begin, right?
Like Hunger
Games. The season
games.
comes down to 20 games.
And the Pittsburgh beating right now the Tampa Bay Lightning.
Unbelievable.
So Pittsburgh winning there, that split again, another wild card split over there. The Chicago tied the game 2-2, and Red Wings and Kraken 4-4. This game is not over, but regular is going to be an overtime. So that's why I get 1 point tonight. And Calgary Flame take the lead 1-0 at the beginning of the first period. Now they are at the end, but Coleman scored and Shorten did again the Toronto Maple Leafs 1-0 Calgary. So whatever Rangers got, Patrick Kane, Tarasenko, Timur Motte, whatever you name it, not change anything there.
No. I just wanted to comment on Bertuzzi, though, before we jump off him. So first of all, I saw that Boston got him before Hall went on IR. So do you think he's actually going to be on IR the whole season? I didn't get to see an update. Is it serious? Is he going to be back for the playoffs?
Which one?
From my understanding, Taylor Hall. I think he'll be back by the playoffs. this is one area I think the NHL has to really scrutinize a little bit closer in the offseason, because it's become a loophole, which is legit, but it's being abused right now by many, many teams.
Yeah. Well, listen, to me, Bertuzzi would have been a perfect. It's exactly the player that Toronto needed. I've said it all year. To me, that's a huge blow to the Leafs. You know, like even if they play Tampa, if they get past Tampa,
Go ahead.
Hype Stu.
Thanks so much, Stu.
Yeah. So to me, that's a huge move by Boston. Can you just imagine this for a sec, guys? Like, Bertuzzi will get firsthand classes on being a rat from Brad Marchand. Like right now, Bertuzzi is kind of like in rat school. Like if you're kind of like in junior high school for being a rat, but now he'll be able to learn from the master, like for the end of the year here. So what a great move for Boston. Like I was a little skeptical about Boston. Like the one thing that scared me about them is that I find that teams that just sail through the season with zero adversity, I find sometimes in the first round of the playoffs it could be really tricky because they've had no conflict to resolution to practice. But now with these moves, like what a masterclass by Don Sweeney in the last couple weeks. So really frightening team to look at over there now, for sure.
Yeah,
The
absolutely.
Tampa Bay Lightning tied the game 4-4, by the way, as I mentioned to you. And the Boston scored 4 goals in the last 5 minutes. The game is 7-1. 7-1 against Buffalo Sabres.
They broke the shutout.
Unbelievable about that. We want to welcome back Jerry. Thanks to be with us. NHL Roger is in the house. Welcome back. We have A2ZME is in the house. He always been with us. Marco, the Sunday morning. Then we have 777777. The poker guy. We call him the poker guy. He's a 777 about that one over there. But
Reggie.
that will be happen. So all of you, thanks so much to be a part of the Hockey Nation show. We appreciate it. Don't forget, guys, to click on the like. That'd be great if you can to my, if you don't mind about that, for sure. We are about 20 minutes before we talk about maybe most of the big trade that we got today. We try to go one by one during the day and the update. I'm going to get that. But still 18 hours, 16 hours, 15 hours. No, I don't know how many hours we got. Anything you're thinking could happen, like any particular team, players. Now on the leaderboard, I believe it's GVR right now for the Flyers is on the top of the leaderboard. We have some rumor left and right, maybe sharing a rumor if you want to. Give us a bit more information, what you're thinking.
Yeah, I think Hayes from Philadelphia is definitely a consideration, and it's out there as well. You know, I gotta believe something's going to happen in the West. I know there's been a couple of moves, LA and Edmonton, but it's stayed fairly dormant. So I anticipate it's like a boxer match, right? 2 heavyweights. They're just kind of waiting who's going to deliver the big punch. Because right now, I believe anybody in that division feels that they can beat anybody. And so if somebody comes in now with a big player, we could see a couple of moves tomorrow. The East is pretty much set, I think. Having said that, I might eat my words. But I'm surprised that Carolina hasn't made a bigger move. I know that traditionally they don't. But when you see what's happened around you, do you feel comfortable if you're Carolina moving forward?
Carolina tried really hard on Meyer, though. Like they were right there. So they were right in the mix for him. So, you know, they kind of struck out on that. But yeah, like it's really hard to believe. Like it is really an arms race in the East. It's unbelievable. I don't think I've ever seen that many teams. Like sometimes you see 1 or 2 teams that kind of, you know, really kind of, you know, arm up and like soup up for the playoffs. But like it's really 6 teams, right? Like that have really kind of been super active. I think what I'll be looking for here, it's impossible to know what trades are going to happen. Like I'm not an insider. I know as much as everybody else, but you know, what I'm going to be looking for is there's a couple teams. I think we were talking about this before the show, like teams that are just confusing, like teams like we don't know what the hell they're doing. Like You know, so trying to I'm just curious to see where some of these teams are going. Like Detroit is one of those. Vancouver is a it's always
They're
weird
really
what they're doing in
puzzling for me.
Vancouver. Yeah, very puzzling. So teams like that, and then I'll also be looking at teams that have a lot to lose, that haven't done anything. Like Calgary is a very fascinating team of what they're going to do because they're right there. You know, like you can't really. Are you going to sell? Like you're not that far out of the playoffs. You have this huge summer. You know, your fan base is going to be pretty
Don't
pissed if
forget,
you have to sell.
yeah, don't
Go
forget
ahead.
Seattle. Don't forget
Yeah, and
Seattle,
Winnipeg, and
Winnipeg.
Winnipeg.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah. So,
And
but see,
Do the
Seattle is
Islanders
different.
have another move?
Yeah, like so to me, there's this category of team. So Seattle, I still think they're playing with house money, right? Like I think they would be disappointed if they didn't make the playoffs, but I think they probably in their own evaluation think that they're a little bit ahead of plan. But teams like
Mhm.
Calgary, Winnipeg, and you're right, Islanders, especially like you must be sweating it, Enertap, because I think your whole reputation is based on the New York Islanders. I
Winni
thought, right? Like your
and
whole.
Winnipeg.
Well, I said Winnipeg would be a wild card team, you know, like they're a dark
Yeah,
horse to
and they
maybe make
are.
the playoffs. But yeah,
Same
that's
thing
where
with
they
the
are. Like I
Islanders.
didn't think they were
Yeah.
winning the Western Conference like a month ago. I didn't think they were going to be that good, but um,
Yeah.
I think it would be pretty disappointing for Jets fans if they don't at least make the playoffs here. So, but those are teams that are kind of like you know, in kind of a Sophie's choice. You know, 99% of people probably don't know what that reference means in this chat, but
Oh,
it's
yeah.
definitely a Sophie's choice. What do? You know, like, are you going to really sell Lindholm? Like, what does that say to your fan base? You know, like if you're Detroit, like what is Yzerman telling his team right now, trading Roenick and Hronek, and then trading you know Bertuzzi today, right?
Bertuzzi.
You know, and then you have
Yeah.
a mixed signal where okay, so you sign Larkin. What did you guys think of the Larkin deal? Like, make the Suzuki deal look pretty damn good, I thought.
Yeah, absolutely. But
Yeah.
I think it was a move that he had to make. I don't think you let Larkin go. I'm surprised. Given the two, I'm not surprised that it was Bertuzzi that was leaving. But Larkin just,
Mm.
he fills that second line role so well. He's a leader now. When the pressure is off, that he's not your number one, this guy produces. And that's one thing that you can say with certainty is that Larkin always shows up every game. So the fact that they made him a part of their future, I think speaks to him.
Do they have a number one center in the pipeline though? I don't think so.
Yeah, I
They have
know.
Casper, like Casper. I think he's a good prospect, like, but his ceiling, I think, is probably more like a maybe a number two center as well.
Uh-oh.
Coach, what do you?
Uh-oh.
What's going on?
Seattle win
Oh, come on.
5-4 against Detroit.
That bull. That's bull. That's
I need
why he's
that one.
happy.
I need
No,
that
you didn't
one.
need that one. He's only up like 10 games on me, and he's still rejoicing.
We have a few people knock the door, ladies and gentlemen, so we want to welcome back and Rabinov. I know you was here a little bit earlier, so thanks so much. Kevin TP is in the house. Roger excited all the fans for the Toronto Maple Leafs in the chat, so I'm glad to hear. Don't forget, guys, to click on the likes. That'd be awesome. Paulo is in the house. Welcome back. We have Danny back in the house. Jerry right there. Daryl Adam is in the house. Welcome, of course. And that's what we got so far about that. So are you talking about Marco Casper earlier?
Yeah.
Yeah.
In terms
But
of
they
Larkin.
already set up very well. If you think about the first line, like, you know, Larkin, Rasmussen, they have already like Andrew Cup over there. So I think with Marco and Casper, the next 2 years, that'll be set up very well, their situation.
I know you were watching the game, Coach, but Enertap and I were debating. So okay, so Larkin's contract. Okay, so Enertap is characterizing him as a great second line center moving forward for their future. But do they have a first line center? You know, like
No,
I don't know. Casper.
no, they don't have anything in the line in the future about like if you think about a number one. I think they use Dylan Larkin as a number one. For me,
They did, yeah.
he is. When I said that, he carry on almost like 1 point per year. Since he's in NHL, like maybe like a one.
Yeah.
Maybe earlier at 21 years old. But if you think about the last 3 years at 24, 25, 26, he's a little bit better to Zuski, about 1 point per game. So it's similar like Zuski, but
He's
I
28
think
though, right?
I'm
28.
sorry.
He's 28.
He will turn 27. He's 27. I think he's 27 right now, but he will turn 28, 27 in July. He's 26. So he's 3 years younger, older to Zuski, and that's the reason maybe he got a little bit more over. And I think he was become the UFA. Zuski was a RFA. That's the reason he got 7.8 versus the right point there. Good deal,
I don't know
I
if this
think,
is a popular
overall.
opinion, but I don't know if this is a popular opinion, but you know, I like what Doug Armstrong was doing in St. Louis there, where you just maybe walk away from a guy at 28 instead of like, is he going to be like? I know he doesn't have the same injuries as Gallagher, but 8 years at 28 years old, ugh, scares me, man. I don't know, like that's why
It won't
I
age
like the
well.
strategy where, yeah, like Entertap. I know you weren't a huge fan this summer of the new NHL where teams pay a player for what they will do instead of what they've done. But to me, it's so
Yeah.
much better, right? Like as a fan, it's so frustrating to pay. Like you're somebody who's 34 and he's still going to be making 8.8 million. I know the cap's going to go up and all that, but I love where Montreal is with Suzuki, right? Like he's going to be right to his prime, and his number is going to be really good. So I like the model where teams lock a guy up he becomes when he's ready to be an RFA.
An
Bridge deals
RFA,
are a
yeah.
killer. So let's hope that Caulfield doesn't sign a bridge deal.
Yeah, at 20, he's 22 years old. Like when you said 28, if I was me, a GM, I would refuse any deal after 28 more at 5 years. I would never give
Yeah,
any
Yeah,
six,
I
seven,
agree.
8 years at all. Like whatever is my best
Yeah.
players, I would trade him. That would be why
yeah, I
my
agree.
suggestion about that. If not, the last 3 years of your contract, you're losing more like to anything else. So
Yeah,
at some point, they have to be smarter, the GM, about that one over there. So at least I would say to you, I will upload his first 3-4 years of his contract. I will give him maybe an extra $1 million or an extra 500,000 more
Yeah,
for
make it
5 years
front
at
loaded.
carry on at
Front
8
loaded.
years. I think that would be my,
give him 10 million for 5 instead of 8.8 for 8. Or
yeah, that'd be
9.5. Yeah.
something about that for sure. Just curious like this because we're almost at the end of the show. Which GM is not returning for an NHL? The Pittsburgh win tonight 5-4 and overtime. Jason Zucker score, and that's conclude that. The Tampa Bay lost
Did you
3
take
games
Pittsburgh?
straight over there at home, 2 back-to-back. Wow. The Tampa Bay,
Don't
and the
worry.
team got Janat, it got other players, and the team lose tonight. Pittsburgh with that W make a better chance for the wild card. And I don't know. Send the traded line. The people make a big change. Nothing happening for them right now. So it would be interesting.
Nah,
This
that's
is the
natural though.
Again, why
That's
would you be
natural.
surprised by that? Yeah, it's
I'm not
absolutely
surprised.
normal. Yeah,
Yeah.
let's give them about 5 to 10 games, and then we'll start
Because
seeing.
it upsets the whole kind of ecosystem that you have, right? So players that
Yeah,
have been so usually it's successful teams that will go out and buy players. So you've been successful all year. You have one guy that's been playing second power play unit, and all of a sudden he doesn't have it. Somebody's not killing penalties or is killing penalties that he like. It just changes things around. It's a good test for the culture of your team, though. Like I have no doubt that Boston, will be able to kind of adapt that. Toronto is a bigger question, though. That's a lot of changes that happen there. Like that's like 6 players that they've added into their ecosystem. That's a lot. That's a lot of players to
That's a
add into
lot.
your
Yeah.
ecosystem. Whew. So,
Yeah.
so to answer your question, coach, like who comes back next year? Not looking great for Hextall. I can say that. Um, I don't know what his contract status is or whatever, but if I'm just looking based solely on performance, Hextall would be high on the list, for sure. And
How about
I'm not.
Vancouver with Alvin?
No.
Well, he's fresh. Like that whole management team is fresh, right? Like they haven't even been there a year. I
But
think
you talk
Jeremy
about,
Rutherford is the first guy that, yeah, Rutherford's got to look at himself
yeah,
because I think he's the one that really he was yapping in the media, like just let Alvin do his thing, man. Like Rutherford, be a Jeff Gorton. Like you figure Jeff Gorton would be he's the younger, more inexperienced executive. Rutherford probably could take a couple pages from Jeff Gorton. Just let Kent Hughes go out front, go on go on a couple podcasts once or twice a year, and just let Hughes do his thing, right? But
yeah, exactly.
Cliff Fletcher as well. I'm not a huge fan as well, so we'll see.
Because I was thinking
How about
about
Dubas?
Brent Devlin for Calgary. I was thinking about Dubas with the Toronto Maple Leaf. And I think Jim Neal have maybe, I'm not sure he got his extension or not, one more year. 3 GM with
How
no
about
contract.
Shovel Day Off? How about Shovel Day Off?
Uh,
I think he's stuck there. Like they love him there. I don't know why. I'm not a huge fan of Shovel Day Off, but they seem to love him there. If he got like there was that huge scandal, he's been through it all there. Like I would be surprised if they got rid of him.
yeah, I'm sorry about
Yeah,
that.
but
Um,
I don't know. I don't know about that. I'll be honest with
I
you.
hope so.
I think the expectations were much higher for Winnipeg, and if they don't do anything tomorrow and at least go through a couple of rounds of the playoffs, that's got to be considered a failure because you don't know what's happening with the players there. Is Dubois going to stay there? He's made it public that he won't. What's happening with Wheeler? Is Scheifele happy there? There's a lot of question marks. Stanley wants out now. You can't have that. And whose contract I believe is coming up? Hellebuck. You can't afford to lose him.
No.
we have a question in the chat, then another one for another one. Add more about that one. We're going to resume what's going on. 5 minutes to go. The contract at Boston Bruin from the number 88 of the pasta. Honestly, I have this here. I don't know where I put it. Do I have this? Here we go. At the time you can watching this for everybody. Here we go. Pasta extend is $90 million, 8 years, ladies and gentlemen. And he got a contract at $11.25 million, Mr. Marco and Atap. What is your thought about this contract?
I love the hands there.
Yeah, that's very cool actually.
The pasta.
Listen, very,
Oh,
very well deserved. Very well deserved.
yes.
Very high on carbs. Being who he is, like that contract is really heavy on the carbs. But every dollar deserved. It'll be interesting to see what happens. This is definitely kind of like arguably the best season and in the NHL history that a team's had so far. Like it's insane what they're doing. So,
Yeah.
but what happens after Bergeron leaves? That's going to be a huge gap to fill. So hopefully the cap goes up for them because they're going to quickly need to backfill Bergeron's position, and find a center to play there because Krejci, their two number one centers or their two top centers are probably not going to be there for very long. But do you do that contract for Pastrnak? Like, it's absolutely, you have no choice.
Yeah.
Just
You
a
don't.
insane player.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I think they have to read the tea leaves here, and you know that Bergeron and Krejci will probably be gone at the end of the year, and you have to plan ahead. And having an icon like that is absolutely a must for Boston. I know it goes outside of their usual, cap, internal cap that they kind of established there. Take a little bit less and play for the team, but you have to secure them. And that this is the only way you do it. And I don't think it's an astronomical number for what he's done.
No, like I think he might have actually taken a discount, to be honest, with that number.
Maybe.
Yeah.
One point you said earlier, Marco, like the 28 years old, the 29 years old. Now you got a guy younger, and he'll be more benefit. For me, I think this is a good trade, good pick from the Boston Bruins and for himself.
Yeah.
I think that's
when you're talking. There's a difference between an elite player, like Pastrnak is an elite player. Dylan Larkin is a good player, like he's a top 6 forward in the NHL, but Pastrnak is like top 10, arguably forward in the league. Like he's finishing top 5 in scoring. Like
it's like you get your check every night, right? Or every other, it's like 40 gold per year. That's it. You don't expect less. That's what you got. So that's you have to pay for that one. And I think right now is going to be the next one after Bergeron and Marchand and he's going to be the star of that team. So you have to pay for that, and McEnroy is number 2 behind. So I think that's a good deal overall. Of course, at the beginning a little bit, but a long term, that would be a good deal for both parties for that. So there'll be something to follow up about this. Don't forget, guys, click on that. Guys, why is not Ken Hughes going after a solid goalie, Paulo? So why the Montreal is not running after a goalie?
I don't know if you're running after a goalie, but I've been pretty vocal about this, coach. Like, if you can't get a blue chip goalie prospect, which we all agree is going to be very hard to do, then we need diversity, and we need to expand our goalie prospect pool, because it's just complete, like, roulette to understand whether a goalie is going to hit or not, right? So you need at least 4 or 5 solid goaltending prospects in the organization, so that when we're ready to actually compete for a playoff spot and maybe win a championship one day, that at least one out of those 3 or 4, I won't say elite, but good, kind of prospects that we have in goal, one of them will hit. Maybe you'll get lucky, maybe 2 will hit, and then you can move one. But so do we have, like, again, we have some questions. Okay, there's Primo, there's Dobes, Montembeault, like I think he's established himself as a NHL goaltender this year. Not comfortable going into him being a number 1, though. Like 3 years from now, when we're ready to compete, not a chance. Allen's not going to be there. So I would like to see us add 2 or 3 high-end, goalie prospects. And ideally, like, man, if you could somehow package assets together.
But it's
to
a lot, Marco.
Marco, are you referring to acquiring those through the draft or through trade?
I think maybe you can draft 1 this year, but those guys are not going to be ready for 5 years. So if you want to, I would draft 1 relatively high if I can this year, if it's there for you. But then I would go out and I would try to acquire 2 solid prospects, right? Unless again, if you get a blue chip, then you just need 1, right? But if you're not going to get like an Askarov or somebody like, like a really high-end blue chip goalie prospect, then I'd say go get 2 or 3, because you're not sure any of them are going to hit. You don't want to be, in the position where, like you're there, like you're ready to compete. But like, look at Ottawa right now. Like, if Sogard hits, but look at how many goalies Ottawa's had in the lab. They had Forsberg. They had, who's the guy that they traded to Minnesota, last year? What's his name?
Talbot.
No. That they traded to Minnesota to get Talbot. Not Forsberg, but anyways, they've had like 4 to 5 goalies at least that they've went through in the last few years that were young, and it looks like they finally might hit with Sorsgaard, right? So to me, that's the model that they should go after, is just diversify your chances, because it's hard to find good goaltending right now. And you probably need more than 1. You need like 2. You need 2 goalies, really, because nobody plays 70 games anymore, right? So
but me, I would not do that way. I would go by UFA.
I know.
If you get
I don't
look
like it.
about the goaltender, like Darcy Kumper, you know what I mean? He took him 14 before he won the Stanley Cup. They won the Stanley Cup. You know, you have only one Vasilevsky in it. Sure, there always been only one Carey Price. But don't tell me Dawson will be a star. Don't tell me Kessa and Wallstad will be a star. It's too risky about that one over there. For me, I would not I would not burn a Caden Cooley, Logan Mayu, Lane Hudson for a goal.
No, of course not. I wouldn't say I'm not burning my blue chip prospects, but I'm packaging. If I could package Mishar with a pick and like a Struble to get a decent,
Marco, you ask the best prospect, they will request to you your best prospect.
I didn't say that. Who said something about giving their best prospect? I'm thinking about a team that has three. Let's say you have a team that has three different goaltending prospects.
Yeah, so Buffalo have Portillo, Levy, and Lukonen. Which one of them is going to be a starter in NHL? Like a solid starter, top 10 goalies.
Well, we don't know that.
Well,
That's
we don't
precisely
know.
my point.
We don't know.
So we don't know.
My point.
So why are you going to give your first round pick in return? Because you don't know if it will work. So that's the risky about that one over there. Now, if you talk about a top draft pick in NHL and he's going to be a solid goaltender like Spencer Knight, that's now you very good chance he's going to be a good goalie in the NHL. Now you can trade a player like you just mentioned, a package deal. But otherwise, I would not take any chance with Dawson Wolf. I would not take any chance with the other about that. The only one right now is coming very soon is Yaskarov for the Nashville. But again, for me,
to me, that's somebody that I would target too, because both Poyle and now necklace
Trotz.
guy, what's his name? Trotz, yeah, okay, no neck guy. I always forget his name. Trotz. They've pretty much said that Saros is untouchable, and he's going to be there for like 5-6 years. So I get that Askarov is part of the succession plan, but you know what I mean? Like, does it make sense to
a long
have
wait.
like a number like that's a long wait for a blue chip prospect? Like, do you think Carey Price wanted to wait for 6 years until he was going to be number one in Montreal? Like,
don't forget, man. We traded Halak just to make room for Price to stay and start.
But
the
they've
run,
said
right?
that Saros is. They've said Saros
they will do it the next couple of years. The Nashville, maybe the next year or the year after that, they will trade Zaros at some point.
Maybe
I would trade Saros because he sounds like a. Like
the team is not ready yet, Marco.
Like
if I was them, I would wait 2 years. When the team, like, he's going to be 29 years old, 30 years old, and that will be the time because Nashville will be a little bit better. They have better, prospects coming, everything like that. But right now, I don't think so. The benefit of that, they have no goalie ready anyway. And because he's not going to be ready, you can see against Montreal, he's still a lot of work to do. It would take him 2 years before he become a good goaltender in his shot.
The only problem with that coach is he has a lot of mileage on him, Saros. Like, this guy's playing 60 plus games a year, and it's not easy nights. Like, he's facing a lot of rubber. We saw last year he got hurt at the end of the year, and the effect that it had on the team going into the playoffs. You almost have to think, okay, we have our succession in terms of goalies. Let's sell high right now. If not this year, at the latest next year. But he's got to be dealt so that you can make room for Askarov to come up and start.
Yeah, but again, if you trade him right now, who they have? They don't have. Is Vredich?
No. Yeah, you go get like another. Your idea, coach, like you go get like a UFA goalie to back him up or whatever. That's fine.
Yeah,
like
cheap
1A, 1B
goalie
for the first while.
Yeah.
But that do you this not regress your? It's always thinking about, do you progress? If I make that trade, I would go a first round pick and a prospect. Is it put my team better right now No.
Well, this is
So
exactly
what
what we talked
happening with
about in Habs
the
brunch
player in the
coaches.
locker room right there? So you tell us a message in the locker room right now. We're going to run out to rebuilding, or we retool everything on that. It go backwards. That's what is sometimes every move you do, you have to thinking about what's the next move after that. What make the locker room after that?
I understand. Like I totally get what you're saying, but it's like we talked about in Habs brunch. Is when you have a position within your organization that has a surplus, with Montreal that happens to be left-handed defenseman. It appears, I haven't looked at the whole depth chart there in Nashville, but assuming as an organization you've identified that you have a surplus and you have things that are missing in your organization, whatever that might be, then you trade those assets to that surplus to kind of fill gaps in your organization. So yes, in the very, very short term on the ice, the result might not be a progress, but you're trying to, like, Barry Trotz is not going in there for a quick retool, right? Like, I'm sure he's going in there and he wants to build something to his image, right? So interesting
and
discussion.
It's only a small period of time. Like, you might regress a year, but you'll jump right back up because you have a blue chip prospect in Askarov, so it'll work out. Or in the package that you deal Saros out to, maybe a backup goalie comes with the back in return with some of the picks that you might acquire, and you sort of share the load for a year or two until Askarov takes over the number one spot.
Goaltending keeps me up at night, though, with this rebuild. That's the only thing that makes me nervous.
It's the biggest gamble.
Just don't have.
It's the biggest gamble.
Yeah.
Right.
I wish I understood how voodoo worked, because that's really what it is.
Yeah. So we'll be interested what's happening about this. The Flames still winning 1-0 against Toronto. We have about the beginning of the second period. The Canucks owes the Wild, the Canadiens owes the Kings, the Blues, the Sharks. And then we want to welcome back Adam Berger for the Vegas Golden Knight. And we're going to finish with the last question of the night because we passed already. We're always overdue here, over delivery. And I'm going to give you a little bit on the out seat right there. Who finished first in the Pacific Division? Vegas, Edmonton, the Kings?
Edmonton. Or Seattle.
No.
No? Okay.
Not Seattle.
Well, they're at 72 right now. I think they're in third, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, but they don't have no goalie there. It's not a team.
I agree. I'll stick to Edmonton.
I'll say LA.
The Kings for LA. Well, I would go with Vegas. We have to be. One of you would be, another one would be upset. So I would go with Vegas to split the pie here. And then, listen, guys. And the wild card number 2, Pittsburgh right now is picking up. Like, they have like 4 or 5 points over everybody. One spot. Islanders, Florida, Detroit, Ottawa, Buffalo. I missed one team.
Need it.
Who is going to get that one, the last spot?
You need to ask me?
Wild card. I go with Ottawa.
You know.
We know what Entertap thinks. Yeah.
Yeah. It's the Islanders.
He's an Islanders guy. But I'm going to say Senators. I'll go with the trendy team. I'll go with the Senators.
I'll go with Ottawa too. I think Ottawa can make some thing right there. They feel the vibes of everything on the direction right now. I think that team will do everything to make it happening. And I think Ottawa could be a good one over there. And that will help in the Montreal Canadiens at the end of the day.
Doesn't it feel like when they had the Hamburglar? It feels like that kind of a year.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes sense. That's a great comment about that. That's
question
guys, the special edition of the HNLT. We're going to be back tomorrow afternoon. Stay tuned. We're going to be doing some kind of update, a resume of all the trade deadline tomorrow afternoon, and then we'll be the warm-up show. We'll be back in the next 25 minutes about the Montreal Canadiens versus the Kings, the play-by-play. We want to thank everybody that chat. Thanks so much. Don't forget to click on the like when you leave the building. We appreciate a lot. Great conversations during the week. I think we should have 3 deadlines on the year, one in November and one in March. I don't know. I feel like it would be more fun for talking, conversation about that one there. We want to thank Marco again. Marco will be with us tomorrow at some point, and then in our top, continue performing every single day at the Hockey Nation Live Show. Thanks so much, all the moderators. Until then, my friend, we want to thank all the super chat. Everybody, why not to get the one thing for them, guys? They deserve it tonight. Here we go. Super chop, 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 chop. Thank you so much, all the super chat, Sue and Dave. Thanks so much for that one. Until the next time, be well, be healthy, and will not only dominate your day, but finally will dominate the first app of what?
Year 2022.
Here we go. Have an amazing, great night, everybody. Thanks a lot, Marco and our tap. I look forward to see you next time. Have a good night.
Coach didn't catch it. Good night, everyone.